The MOU is out. I feel like everybody got every prediction wrong about how this war was going to go.
Make sure that Iran never has a nuclear weapon, never has to face the wrath of President Trump and our military again.
The people who are criticizing this deal as it exists right now don't exactly have a great track record of predicting what was going to happen.
A lot of the misinformation out there is coming from the Iranian propaganda itself. President Trump speaks loudly and carries a big stick, you know, and what he's been saying loudly over and over again when it comes to Iran is he wants peace. Washington politicians are always getting in your wallet. Now they're messing with your credit card. Your credit card and the security it offers are under attack. The Durbin-Marshall credit card bill would change the nation's payment system to benefit corporate megastores like Walmart and Target at the expense of everyday Americans. Credit cards keep your payments secure and provide rewards that families use to help make everyday purchases more affordable. The Durbin-Marshall mandates would let corporate megastores cut corners on credit card processing, routing transactions over cheaper, untested networks with weaker security and fewer protections. That means higher risk of fraud, greater chance of stolen personal data, and the loss of rewards programs, just so corporate megastores can pocket billions of dollars in higher profits. Tell Congress to guard your card. Visit guardyourcard.com to take action and learn more.
Ladies and gentlemen, your attention, please.
This program has become one of the most influential podcasts in America.
I love the personality. You guys are killing it. I just saw you're number one. So congratulations.
It's an honor and a pleasure to welcome the great Sean Hannity.
Guys, I love you. Congratulations on all your success.
This is why you listen to the Ruthless podcast, because nobody else would ask that question. The only political podcast worth listening to is the Ruthless podcast.
It's time for our main event.
The Ruthless Podcast.
Welcome back to the Ruthless Variety Program. I'm Michael Duncan, along with Comfortably Smug and John Ashbrook. We have a wonderful, wonderful episode for you today. There's some very interesting news on X, a follow-up to a previous episode that we did on the SPLC. Apparently there's some shenanigans going on over there.
You're kidding.
Yeah. There's a lot.
For folks who missed that or haven't been in tune with it, the SPLC is the Southern Poverty Law Center. And for years, their business model was basically label everything to the right of Bernie as racist and radical, and they got donor money by doing it, and to help go after conservative groups, they'd label them as like white supremacists so that they can't process payments. Like this was their business model, and apparently they're the ones who are funding the racism. So we're going to get even deeper into that story. There's a lot about it.
There's great stuff. Also some election results.
Yep.
You know, the Georgia stuff. They're still dealing with the ranked choice voting stuff in Maine.
What a disaster.
DC was counting or failing to count votes. There's all sorts of shenanigans going on. But before we get to all of that, I first wanted to talk about the Iran deal. Now that we know more after Tuesday's wonderful episode, I feel like it was a good episode.
Great episode.
Yeah. Dakota Meyer, great guest.
Oh, man.
A lot of great reactions on that.
Yeah. Powerful story from that guy. And that book, you know, is going to be excellent.
Yeah. So what strikes me as most interesting right now, and we're going to learn more on this MOU, the Memorandum of Understanding, as it comes out, I believe, on Friday. But what strikes me as most interesting about the sort of contours of this deal is the criticism I've seen from all camps, you know, sort of across the political spectrum about this deal. And it just struck me as interesting, you know, because I feel like everybody got every prediction wrong about how this war was going to go. You know, some of the libertarians were saying this is going to necessitate a ground war in Iran, that thousands of Americans were going to die, that it was going to be World War III. Not true, right? There were sort of like the Iranian expat community, a lot of people in the United States, some of the neocons who were insisting like Reza Paul Levy is going to come from Great Falls and the ghost of Kermit Roosevelt's going to do another coup in Iran and we're going to have a democratic Iran. And that didn't happen, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
And so I guess I say all of that for people who are obviously consuming not just this show, but every show that's out there under the sun making predictions about all of this deal. And I hope everybody takes all of those predictions with a grain of salt.
Mm-hmm.
Because only time will tell whether a deal like this will work. How do we know that? The last deal, the Obama nuke deal, JPCOA, right?
Mm-hmm.
For years, the Democrats have told us, this was a great deal. It was great diplomacy by all those dipshits in the Obama White House who claimed to be experts in foreign policy. Of course, Iran was violating it the entire time.
Mm-hmm.
The entire time. And we found out a lot of this actually in the course of this war, of how they, had broken out far beyond what they were saying they were using on their enrichment of uranium and everything. They're liars, historically liars, and have been even before the Ayatollah and the rise of the Islamic regime.
Mm-hmm.
And so I just think that's a good place to start with this deal, in that the people who are criticizing this deal as it exists right now don't exactly have a great track record of predicting what was going to happen
Mm-hmm.
in Iran.
I think that's a great part of it. And it's actually the most nuanced discussion I've heard anywhere about this, because the commentary that we've all been subjected to over the past couple months has been just like complete ends of the spectrum of insanity.
Yeah.
Of like, you either believe that Trump is secretly trying to send every Zoomer in America to go die in Iran, or you think that like, watch, all of a sudden there's going to be like statues to democracy, and like you said, Reza Pahlavi is going to land, and like this, the actual information that we're getting now about it is the most realistic approach to what has happened, what needs to be done, sets terrific measures of success for not just Iran, but for that whole region. Because remember, this country has been a thorn in the side of the globe for decades now at this point. And it feels like the Obama administration, obviously with their deal, let Iran run amok. Joe Biden let Iran run amok, which led to Hezbollah, Hamas running amok. We saw in President Trump's first administration, he turned Soleimani into salsa. We were told that was going to cause World War III. That was the guy who was responsible for engineering all the roadside bombs that killed so many Americans. Gone, turned into salsa. Now Senator Haggerty, who was then the ambassador to Japan, partnered with President Trump to essentially bankrupt Iran in that first Trump administration.
Right.
Joe Biden comes in, Iran becomes flush with cash, can fund all this terrorism, runs amok. And so President Trump enters office and he's having to fix it again. Like we had that time period under President Trump where it was essentially peace in the Middle East, and he's having to go back and get us to where we were.
Right.
And the fact that he bombed, and our incredible military bombed and kicked the shit out of Iran's capabilities, and is now at a place where Iran has to come to the table, live up to these parts of the deal. Thank God. And oil prices, may I add, are down over 25% now over the past month. This is terrific news going into a midterm. You want Americans to not worry about gas prices going into the summer ahead of midterms. And this is going to get that
Yeah,
done.
the market's reacting at the same time. A lot of people have been comparing President Trump to Teddy Roosevelt. The big fight on the White House lawn. They had these videos about Teddy Roosevelt boxing and showing a lot of the similarities. But there is one key difference in that President Trump speaks loudly and carries a big stick. And what he's been saying loudly over and over again when it comes to Iran is he wants peace. He always talks about how he wants peace everywhere in the world, from when he first ran for president and criticized a lot of the decisions about the Iraq war, to most of the things in his first term, to what he was saying about Iran. He wants peace. And that's what this deal seeks to deliver, not just peace in short term as it in regards to like this initial conflict with Iran, but also peace in the region that lasts for much longer.
Yes.
And a lot of people are out there saying, oh, it's not possible with Iran. They're lying to you. They tell you one thing and then they do something completely different. And one of the things I think is most interesting about this deal, at least as we understand it, and of course, we haven't seen all the details. As you said, they're going to come out later on this week. But one of the things that strikes me, and I've heard from a number of senior administration officials about this particular thing, is that if the Iranians are not complying with the American understanding of the agreement, then they do not receive the incentives that the agreement allows them to receive. Okay.
There's a carrot and there's a stick to this entire process. And it doesn't just involve their nuclear program, which of course is like, that's the red line 100%. But what JPCOA failed to do under the Obama administration, we talked to Brian Hook about this, was to address the issues of ballistic missiles and proxies, right? And those are the other ways that Iran projects power, through all of these proxies like Hamas and Hezbollah and the Houthis. And there are incentives there as well, as I understand it, in the framework of this deal.
That's exactly right. It's not just destroying and eliminating their nuclear capabilities, which is a key component. It also forces the Iranians to stop funding these proxies who have rained down terror across the Middle East. It's not just Israel who has felt the wrath of Iran. There are a lot of Gulf states who want peace, who want some sort of prosperity. They just want to sell oil to people and try to rise up. If the Iranians don't stop their effort to terrorize these countries, then they don't get their side of the deal.
Well, and also, I think the dynamics.
I just think it's interesting. You don't hear a lot about that. There's so much misinformation out there, and a lot of it. Listen to these senior administration officials. A lot of the misinformation out there is coming from the Iranian propaganda itself. Very sophisticated. Let's not forget that this is a giant country with a lot of very sophisticated people. They know how to pull the levers of propaganda and make people believe one thing or another. I mean, that's what they've really made their bank on.
Okay, so I've leveled criticisms at basically everybody. So I'm gonna include the Trump administration in one regard. That propaganda and those critics of this deal who are out there now poo-pooing it, who might have been wrong about the various things we ran through already here on the show, it provides a vacuum when you don't have this MOE public. When they're only discussing the broad terms of the thing and it's not released. So, I mean, that's what people do in a vacuum, is they fill it.
Right.
And a lot of people are spreading misinformation about the deal or talking down the deal without that information.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, I would say that J.D. Vance, I think, has done everything humanly possible over the last 48 hours to get out there and talk about the parameters of this deal. And I mean, I know we've got some clips of him doing shows, walking through it. But I feel like that guy's done his level best to just explain absolutely everything that you can under the circumstances.
I mean, a real media blitz he has going on right now. And I know he's also got this new book out, which I'm sure he'd rather talk about than the ins and outs of how we're going to get the Iranians to agree to this deal and all of that, which is a huge job. But he's doing a whale of a job trying to explain this thing. Let's play that first clip.
Walk through some of this. The Iranians are saying that they're going to have access to a $300 billion reconstruction fund. True or false?
Well, Ed, that's the sort of thing they could have access to, funded by the Gulf Coast Coalition, so long as they honor their end of the obligation. I think that one of the things you're going to see, Ed, and people have to be skeptical of this, is that the hardliners in the Iranian system will overemphasize the benefits that Iran gets while underemphasizing all the things that they have to concede and all the things they have to provide in order to get these benefits. So we absolutely are open to the Gulf Coast countries investing in the reconstruction of Iran, but only if Iran ends their nuclear program, ends their enriched stockpile of material, and is really open to an inspections and enforcement regime that gives the American people confidence they're never going to have a nuclear weapon. So
that's the thing. And that's a great point and a very important idea that needs to be conveyed is Iran's economy, as a result of President Trump and our military responding to their nonsense in the Strait of Hormuz by blockading all the Iranian ships from going and getting their oil out of the market, has really done a number on Iran's economy.
I've heard a number $1 trillion in damage.
That's the thing. And so Iran, like JD says, the hardliners there have to be able to save face and be like, listen, they know every one of their like ballistic missile sites got the shit bombed out of it. Every one of their like fighter aircraft got destroyed. Their navy's now at the bottom of the sea. They have to make all of this. They're like, what piece of information can we give out there to sound like we got the better end of this deal? And not only do their propagandists get it out there, then they also know that that's catnip to the American media who wants to try to be like, well, this will make Trump look bad. It actually doesn't.
Yeah.
Because it shows the way that this is structured, where if some emirate country wants to build a shopping mall in Iran and they check with America and they're like, has Iran lived up to their end of the deal? And America says, yeah, they have. You can go ahead. You can build that shopping mall in Iran. That's where the money comes from. This isn't taxpayer money. Like so many on the left are trying to fool Americans into thinking this is taxpayer money.
This isn't pallets full of cash like the Obama administration.
Exactly.
And it's important to note that the dynamics in the Middle East have changed. Outside of the United States and Israel, that has pressured Iran and isolated them, and that is the Gulf states that JD alluded to. They're ready for a change. Like I think that's 100% true based on what they're trying to do with their economies and move beyond just being an energy extraction economy into all sorts of things. Like they want to see a different sort of future for the Middle East, and that's why they have worked with the United States in this pressure campaign on Iran. Like, I think that is a game changer in the calculus and the diplomacy here. I really do.
Yeah. No, I don't disagree. I mean, and if you hear these guys talk about the whole setup, I feel like that's one of the biggest components.
I think so too. But like at the same time, I do fear that we're getting sort of inverse rose-colored glasses, sort of ahead of Iraq. Everybody was like, we're going to be greeted as liberators. They're going to throw rose petals in the streets. They're going to be so happy to have democracy. And obviously, 20 years later, we know that's not the case. I mean, it took a lot of blood and treasure in order to keep Iraq together. And Afghanistan now is controlled by the Taliban again. I mean, you can ask our producers here who had to go over there and fight.
Right.
Now, we had rose-colored glasses about what we could accomplish over there. Do we maybe have rose-colored glasses on what we can accomplish through this diplomacy with Iran?
Well, I think there are two components to the diplomacy. There is what we're talking about and what everybody's waiting to see in this MOU, and then there's what President Trump has said he will do if they don't comply. It's not just, we're not going to lift your sanctions. Trump tweeted or said at his press conference, we're going to bomb the hell out of you.
Right.
So, I mean, you speak loudly and carry a big stick. That's what Donald Trump does. If these guys don't come to heel, you think $1 trillion in damage is bad to their infrastructure. Where do you see the rest of what Trump's capable of doing? You know what I mean? It's like he's perfectly willing. And by the way, the other thing that I heard from senior administration officials, that the American force presence in the region will not change anytime soon. Right. So they will, our great armed forces who are capable of so much will be right there. And if the Iranians flinch in the wrong direction and the president is not happy with it, they're going to figure out what Big Stick is all about.
So we actually have that Trump clip. Let's play clip 2.
Is the text of the agreement now final, or are you still...
No, it's not final. It's a memorandum of understanding. And if I don't like it, we'll go back to shooting at them, dropping bombs on their head.
When do you expect the word?
If I don't like it, if they don't behave, we'll go right back to dropping bombs right smack in the middle of their head. Okay? Because they've misbehaved for 47 years.
Look, I mean, how could you not take him seriously
I know.
After what happened over the last 2 months and after what this guy has been talking about for 40 years? Remember, Trump has a track record of identifying Iran as one of the greatest forces for bad things on the planet.
Right.
Back when he was a businessman. You've seen the videos. Everybody's been pushing these videos out. So, like, this guy understands the stakes and he understands negotiations. And I think they're going to figure out the art of the deal is not always art. Sometimes it is very, very hard to stomach bombs dropping on your head.
Well, yeah. And it's also, I really just like this American foreign policy. Like, we went into Iran with a very clear goal of you will never have a nuclear bomb. We're going to target you with these strikes. We're going to kill the Ayatollah and the malicious actors at the top of the regime, create the conditions in which if there is a regime change internally, the Iranian people could do that. But we reserve the right to go back and attack at a time of our choosing if you go and rebuild this program. And we always have that right without overextending ourselves in some 20-year ground war.
Right. And let's not pretend like he's asking for something that they're incapable of doing. He's asking for peace.
Right.
He's like, stop shooting at us.
That's it.
Stop shooting at these peaceful Gulf states. Stop shooting at the Israelis. Stop shooting at America. Stop funding terrorist proxies.
But it is possible that they're incapable of it.
Yeah.
I mean, it's called the Revolutionary Islamic Republic. They do like terrorism. And can they have a revolution without a nuke? Can they have a revolution without terrorism? Because like oil is down. I hear you on that. And that's fantastic. And the Strait being open back up will be great for global commerce and everything. But like half of the Iranian military apparatus is funded through oil quotas. It's all just petrodollar recycling back into the economy, you know? And so they will use that oil money to rebuild their military. So I say that to say, like, let's not use rose-colored glasses on how much diplomacy can be accomplished here after 47 years of a track record. But that being said, it's still a good framework to try to get these people slowly crawling towards a new future in the Middle East. Because I don't see any other way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a good point.
One other funny clip that Trump had here at the G7. Clip 2A. Can we play that?
There's some element to this where you send the vice president. If it works out, great, you look like a genius for sending him. And if it doesn't work out, it's the vice president's fault.
I like that idea, sure. What? This way, if it works out, I'm going to take the credit. If it doesn't work out, I'm blaming JD. You better be careful, JD. He's going to turn his plane around and get the hell out of here. Yeah, I like that idea. I think it's a good idea. Thank you very much, everybody. Thank you.
So I just love when he like breaks the fourth wall on this stuff, because he already knows that the journalists want to write that story, and there's the JD or Marco stuff and all of that.
That was my take. Is like if you go back, can we freeze frame on it when he's talking? The entire time Trump says that about JD, that is Rubio remains completely stoic and stone-faced the entire time, which is impressive. Yeah. He's not like, laughing, and then the story's gonna be written up of like, maybe JD and Marco do have a rivalry. It's clear that they don't. This is one team, one dream, but that is a hilarious clip.
Yeah.
And as often happens in the art of podcasting, news breaks as you're recording. The MOU is out. We've got the full text here, and we'll get you all the details right after this.
American energy is growing. With a renewed focus on American oil and natural gas, we're rebuilding our industrial strength and driving investment. Energy demand is rising, and the United States has the resources to meet it. Here's the challenge. If we can't build the infrastructure to move that energy, pipelines, transmission lines, and power plants, Americans won't feel the benefits. And while projects stall, China moves faster. Not because America lacks energy, but because Washington's permitting system is outdated and broken. Energy affordability depends on getting energy where it's needed, when it's needed. Yet critical projects remain stuck for years in delays and endless litigation. We have the energy, we have the workforce. Now it's time to build. Let's secure American energy leadership for generations to come. When America builds, America wins. Pass permitting reform now. Learn more at permittingreformnow.org. Paid for by the American Petroleum Institute.
I've worked at Coca-Cola for 21 years.
We're delivering Dr. Pepper from our brand new facility in Dallas, Texas.
We're really proud to still make Pepsi products in America.
You don't need a college degree to work here, but I put 4 kids through college by working here.
This is a great place to work with great people and great American brands.
Grocery stores, convenience stores, restaurants, they all depend on us.
We deliver great paying jobs.
We deliver beverages people love.
We deliver for our community.
Okay, the full text of the MOU with Iran is out from Axios. They've got the full breakdown here. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 points. None of this is a real surprise, but it's great to see, you know, because all week, as we discussed earlier in this segment, there was this vacuum created by the, you know, you'll see it later this week thing where commentators, and many of whom were wrong about everything in their predictions on the war, were filling that space, I think, in ways that were leading a lot of people down the wrong path, or they were echoing the Iranian propaganda, the point you made, Ashbrook, which I think was astute. The most important thing, I think, at all this, the heart of the matter, the reason why we did the strikes in the first place is point number 8 here. I'll just read from it. The Islamic Republic of Iran reaffirms that it shall not procure or develop nuclear weapons. The United States of America and the Islamic Republic of Iran have agreed to resolve the disposition of the stockpiled enriched material pursuant to a mechanism that will be mutually agreed upon in accordance with the schedule mentioned in paragraph 7, blah, 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 blah. This is the heart of the matter. This is the reason why this conflict began, and it is proof of Donald Trump's commitment to this point, and I'm glad it's in there.
Yeah, me too. And I think this is the most important piece, and you, I think, laid it out. There are going to be additional details underneath this. How are they going to verify that the materials are destroyed? How are they going to verify that that everything that the Iranians have developed it still remains in shambles,
right?
But might still be at some of these nuclear development sites around the country.
Yeah.
And that's an important piece. But if you listen to these senior administration officials who, you know, have talked about this and sort of pointed to these details over the past few days, they are not walking in blind to that reality. They know that there is going to have to be not just a trust but verify situation, like actual people on the ground who we trust, who we know can see with their own eyes and verify that these nuclear materials are destroyed or gone, or, you know, whatever the language that they use in this. And, you know, I think this is such an important document. But I'm not going to pretend like I'm Henry Kissinger here with a deep understanding of international diplomacy, pending the final deal of the United States of America and the Islamic Republic.
That's, you know, a good accent.
Like, that's not. I'm not that. Okay,
right.
But I do have eyes. I do consume news just like everybody who's listening to this show, and I can tell you that these are details that people were looking for. And I'm quite confident that there's going to be even more detail about how they put this into action that will come out in the coming weeks.
Mm-hmm.
Well, you may not be a foreign policy expert, but what I can say is that as we are recording this, as the MOU came out, what happened in terms of the market? Oh, the price of oil started falling again.
You don't have to be a foreign policy,
like
right?
Folks are liking what they're hearing and are liking that, as President Trump described, that this MOU is to set the stage for 60 days of coming up with a binding final way to get an agreement on the table, which makes sure that Iran never has a nuclear weapon,
right,
never has to face the wrath of President Trump and our military. Again, I think a critical part of this, as we see here in the final release text of the MOU, is that Iran not only agrees to allow free sailing through the Strait of Hormuz, but further, they are now committed to removing any mines they may have put in place to ensure that we've got free movement on that waterway, free commerce on that waterway. And as I said before, the price of oil then started dropping again after this, which is tremendous news.
Sure is.
Yeah, it really is like the devil's in the details with this stuff. Like, this is just a framework, right? Like,
it's
this
just
is
to set the stage for
the negotiations and talking about the
yep.
specifics of the entire thing. And that's always been the toughest thing with the Iranians is getting them to actually agree to the specifics of the thing. Like, we've had a lot of conversations with them, not just over the course of these few months, but like over years with trying to get them to the table on some serious stuff. And it always falls apart because of the specifics. And like, this has been a problem with the Iranians even before the Islamic regime. You can go all the way back to like before the Shah, to Mossadegh, when he nationalized the British Petroleum, and the Americans were trying to intervene in all of those negotiations with Iran and the international community, because it was obviously really important to the British and everything that like, you don't steal all of our shit. And they were impossible to work with. Like, Mossadegh would make a negotiation and then forget about it or lie about it the next day, and you'd have to start back at square one. And so I guess I just want to reiterate, like, don't have rose-colored glasses on about like how willing they are. They will be as willing as they are forced.
Right. Well, and I think to your point about carrots and sticks, and to the point that JD is making about they have to comply or else this thing is off, or to Trump's point that he's going to bomb the hell out of them.
Right.
I think that they are clear-eyed. I don't think that this administration is rose-colored about it. I think they've set it up to force them to be responsive.
And also, I will say that one thing that has changed in terms of negotiations with Iran is that this administration has shown that it's not like the Obama administration where they're like, we would like you to do this, and here you go. This would be a good agreement. Pretty please. Where this time the negotiations are different because Trump's like, I will kill every military leader in your country until you agree to what I want.
Yeah, right.
And he's shown the willingness to do that, and he's shown what it looks like when he's pissed off, and every single one of your airplanes and ships are now blown up.
Well, it's clear Donald Trump runs the show, and there were a lot of naysayers, particularly on the right, who were saying, well, Israel's stopping us from getting this deal done. Benjamin Netanyahu is telling Donald Trump what to do. Nobody tells Donald Trump what to do.
That much is clear.
It's absolutely true, man. I mean, and the thing about that pisses me off, because I'm sure it's not the end of it, right? Like, as we go through all the details on this, I'm sure there's stuff that Israel will disagree with. Well, like, they have a different threat matrix than we do as the United States. Like, our job is to stop Iran from having a nuclear weapon. Like, if we had terrorists in Juarez or like in Windsor, Canada at our border, we might have different opinions about specific things. And they do, obviously. But like, we have to put America's interests first and foremost in these negotiations, and we're going to protect our ally Israel. And like, there's going to be a lot of people in the media or like commentators who are trying to draw these wedges to stop the thing from happening. And I just really hope that doesn't happen as well, because that shit is not productive at all.
Nope.
Okay. One more clip of JD's whole media tour that I got to get to, because it's funny, and it's from The View, so we gotta play it.
Which is incredible, because like when it was first announced that JD's going to be on The View, I was like, wait, what?
Yeah.
Turns out, I
mean, going to The View is worse than dealing with Iran. All right, this is Anna Navarro.
You guys might be skeptical of this, but I promise you it's true.
I have to go to break. Anna, God, please, we have more with Vice President J.D. Vance when we come back. Don't do that.
JD showed up, and they're mad at each other. Outstanding work, JD.
It's just another day that ends in Y, pal. I mean, they hate each other.
We should send JD every day for like a week, and then see it eventually become like a cage match of those crazy women just going after each other. Because
then he's just the ref.
And he did a great job.
He did.
On that show. He came off looking terrific.
He's got a great personality. I mean, he's so affable, easy to get along with. And it's like it's Anna Navarro had to come up with something to try to draw a contrast, because he's sitting there answering every single question whenever she give him a word in edgewise.
So I'm glad you said that, Ashbrook, because I think that is one of JD's superpowers. Is he is so affable, and I think it can be disarming for people like this on The View who don't know him personally, right? And they're expecting the boogeyman that they've invented in their minds to be JD Vance, which he's not. Right. And so then he's there on stage, and he's smiling, and people are laughing. And so it really disarms their line of attack. And so you can see in that clip basically her frustration of trying to get in on him. So much so that Whoopi Goldberg becomes the voice of reason. Yeah. That's just unbelievable.
Yeah, great clip.
Anyway, that brings us to our question of the day. And this is an important one. A great one.
It's a good one. It's a tough one.
And when you comment, we read everyone and we read them on our next episode. The question today is, who is the most annoying host of The View and why?
That's a great one.
We're going to get
It's a tough one.
This is a very tough one. This is like predicting who's going to win the Super Bowl. A lot of good teams out there. Well, I look forward to reading all of those comments. Up next, the SPLC was in bed with white supremacists, literally. The sex scandal rocking the left-wing organization right after this.
For over 2 decades, the Tunnels to Towers Foundation has been there for our fallen and catastrophically injured first responders, military, and Gold Star families. Born from the tragedy of 9/11, Tunnel to Towers provides mortgage-free homes to Gold Star and fallen first responder families with young children and builds specifically adapted smart homes for catastrophically injured veterans and first responders. The foundation also offers scholarships for college, trade school programs, and for children of Gold Star families, fallen first responders, and catastrophically injured veterans. And Tunnel to Towers is committed to eradicating veteran homelessness and helping America never forget September 11th. To learn more about the foundation's mission and their impact and how you can support the nation's heroes, visit t2t.org.
Okay, from the New York Post. These guys, first of all, have been on a run. I mean, I've seen so much New York Post content recently. Yeah. It's just the blending of the politics and the hilarity. I just absolutely love it. We're kindred spirits.
And, I'll get to it later. When we get to our elections thing.
This headline, SPLC boss funneled $1.2 million to lover in neo-Nazi group. Pair even had a joint banking account.
This is insane.
A top Southern Poverty Law Center official is accused of helping funnel $1.2 million in donor money to an informant in the National Alliance white supremacist group who was also allegedly her lover. The DOJ has filed a superseding indictment against the SPLC, accusing it of funneling donor cash to hate groups. They were then telling donors they were fighting. We covered this obviously on the show for you new listeners and viewers. Hilarious stuff. One figure, referred to as Employee 2 in the indictment, is described as a person who would become director of the SPLC's intelligence project. Doesn't strike me as too intelligent based on the indictment. It also describes how Employee 2 wrote an article based on stolen material from National Alliance headquarters in 2014 and then paid off an informant to take the blame for the robbery. Based on the details of the June 2nd superseding indictment, Employee 2 is believed to be Heidi Barish, a 58-year-old fascism expert.
A fascism expert.
She's an expert. She's gotten up close and personal with the fascism.
Fascism expert.
Yeah, she the director of intelligence at the Alabama-based anti-extremism nonprofit between 2012 and 2019. Let's put up graphic 2. Yep. There she is. There she is.
Okay, there she blows.
Nice smash. Okay. Here's the reaction from the neo-Nazis at National Alliance. I knew it was that fat, ugly hog Heidi Barish. I think some of those cluckers wanted to get out of the movement and they went to the SPLC for help. But instead of helping them, the SPLC said, why don't you stay in and get paid?
I mean, that's hearing that straight up from this guy is that's a quote from the National Alliance chairman, William White Williams, saying straight up that he feels like some of these members of that Nazi group were actually trying to get out. But then the SPLC is like, no.
Stay
Why don't you keep doing the extremism and here's some money? And the details of this relationship between Barish and this member of that Nazi group is insane. It says, Barrett was also in a romantic relationship with F9. That's the code name of that individual who infiltrated the neo-Nazi organization, a member of it. They shared a house and 2 bank accounts between 2015 and 2021. Is it the headline is 1.4 million, right? That was of donor money that flowed from the SPLC to the operating accounts, ultimately deposited into their joint checking account. This amounted to approximately 66% of all money ever deposited into their joint bank accounts. They had essentially turned these two like lovers, all that donor money into just like their personal slush fund. They were living off of it. It says the indictment also claims that while getting paid by the SPLC, the unnamed informant was also raising money for the National Alliance and helping to carry out its extreme activities. So like, this is, if you're a group, the SPLC, who's ostensibly fighting racism, all this donor money is going to pay off Nazis and a member of the SPLC allegedly sleeping with them, while he's fundraising even more for the Nazi group. This is like the worst possible use for donor money. Like, this is the problem in a nutshell. I had said that the demand for racism far outstripped the supply. That's the heart of this issue. America, before all of these like NGOs and shit, especially under the Obama years, got to work, America had got to a place where race was not a thing people thought about on a daily basis, whereas today, I mean, after 2020, you saw after the George Floyd riots is when it went into hyperdrive of every corporation is then getting their arm twisted by the SPLC to be like, we remember George Floyd and we have to remember that white supremacy is the greatest threat this country faces. All of that was made up. And the people who are making it up for money are laughing at everybody. Well, they're literally in bed with the Nazis.
What you don't understand, Smug, is this is just, as an economist, like this would be Keynesian economics. This is the circular flow of the economy. You see, it's like you have a white supremacist group, and then you get in bed with the SPLC, you both get to raise money, and then you transfer it to each other.
It's incredible.
And the virtuous cycle continues of raising donor money and spending it on your slush fund.
Have you guys noticed, by the way, how the left defends this nonsense? Like they say, oh, you can't, you're missing the point. This was a key informant in an operation.
Like they're the FBI.
Exactly. Like it's Bridge of Spies. You know what I mean? The delusional. They're absolutely delusional. They're pretending like they're Jason Bourne.
Yeah.
Because they're making $1.4 million or whatever, sleeping with some white supremacist. Get out of here. Like, Smug, what you were saying is exactly right. The demand outstripped the supply, and so they have to create more supply. And what's happening to our country as a result?
That's the thing.
People are pulled apart.
That's the thing. It's so demented because they create this environment where like, oh no, we're going to have another riot in an American city. Like, this was all a choice. This was left-wing NGOs, groups like the SPLC. This was the choice by them to divide this country and to cause these problems and to make Americans turn against Americans. And they did it for money. It's the most cynical possible thing. They believe in all this bullshit so little that they even sleep with the Nazis.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? This is insane.
This story is super important because of Ashbrook's point, I think. And that is, they were defending it like they were FBI investigators. And in reality, it wasn't just that they're paying these informants. The informants were also still raising money for all of these groups, creating these slush funds for their personal lives and all this sort of stuff.
And making it worse.
Making it worse. Clearly making it worse, as laid bare by Brandon Gill and all those hearings that we played last week. Incredible stuff. Let's get to some of this election news stuff.
Yep.
Okay, so the funny thing first. Maine. They do that ranked choice voting up in Maine. Now, the way that they always describe it, proponents of this entire thing, is like, oh, well, it makes it more fair because people in these primary elections have to go out and build coalitions and, maybe you'll be second or third on somebody's choice. And it leads to better elections because, it's a more utilitarian way of winning a primary. Okay. Here's the headline from Maine Wire. elections office sent wrong USB drive of election results.
This is insane.
So the way that this works, I'll just read here from the article. Because Maine has ranked choice voting, the results can't be counted in a municipality by the clerk who has had the job for 30 years. Instead, a thumb drive has to be couriered to a centralized location where the Secretary of State's office enters all of the data into an algorithm. And then, like the Delphine Oracle, comes out with the results so indeterminate time later.
This is such insanity.
Yeah. I mean, they sent the wrong USB file.
Mm-hmm.
And then they had to... This election was like 2 weeks ago.
Mm-hmm.
And we still don't have results.
Yeah, ranked choice voting is the dumbest thing I have ever heard of, and I don't think it's any coincidence that it's always the left-wing NGOs and Dem-aligned groups who are pushing for that in all of these states. You know, Maine is one of the states that has it. Alaska now has it. Even, you know, Washington, D.C., if a mayor candidate doesn't get to 50%, then they go to ranked choice for everybody else. It's because when they can confuse the path to the outcome, and they can shape the results in a way that isn't simply like who got more votes.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, like they have to turn it into a Rube Goldberg machine so that all of their groups can get paid for their candidates, and it's a cottage industry. Infinite money for the NGOs.
Yeah. So there's other theories in here, more from Maine Wire. This happened in Bidford, where the clerk sent the wrong file. Bidford is a massive Democrat city in CD1, but these results will not alter the U.S. Senate primary, and they won't really matter outside of local elections in the Dem-Gov primary. Really, the only election that this thumb drive could change the outcome of is the one Secretary of State, Sheena Bellows, is running in. She's like House of Cards meets Veep. I'm praying that the results out of Bidford go Sheena's way by 2 standard deviations from other cities. Maybe then Democrats will let us go back to free and fair elections counted by city clerks rather than eggheads in Augusta.
Well said. That's very well said.
Well said.
You think that there's someone who's been counting the votes in that area for 30 years.
Yeah.
And probably come under criticism from one side or the other over that period of time. And now they're like, nope, sorry.
Well, see, that's the thing.
We got to do it now.
There's these liberal groups, these national groups that have been trying to get ranked choice voting all over the place. And they come into a place like Maine. They're like, no. We know better than you. You know, clerk who's done this your entire lives. You're just going to, give us a USB drive and we're going to pump it into our algorithm. And then at some date, we will decide when to tabulate those results.
It's insane that elections in this country, any election, I don't care where it is, I don't care how blue or how red it is, and how little the outcome can be affected. It's insane that Americans are subjected to that.
They are undermining Americans' confidence in election results by being slapdicks.
They are.
Which leads us also to the next race we discussed.
Yeah. DC mayor's race results. Let's put up graphic 1 here.
So for folks who are audio only, in first place is Janess Lewis George, who the whole story about her is she is the most communist among the choices. Mm-hmm. Like essentially she ran as I am the most Marxist. Currently,
Mom Donnie of DC.
Yeah. I even heard the description as further to the left of Mamdani is currently in the lead at 52.8%. And then Kenyon McDuffie, who I actually saw some of the ads that he was airing. This is incredible. They're also a far left Democrat. And the ad I saw for them was, I won't let as many people out of jail as Janess Lewis George. Like, I will let fewer people. Like, the argument is like, don't get me wrong, I want criminals out there.
I will have less chaos.
Yeah. If you want fewer criminals, not as many, like the right amount of criminals out walking the streets. That was this guy's vote. And he was surrounded by a lot of the people who are associated with the current mayor of DC. They're in second place with 36.6%. And then you've got Gary Goodweather at 3%. My guess is Gary was probably like, I don't want any criminals. So
I don't like crime.
Did fare well because DC is like as blue as it gets. But this is another case of ranked vote elections where it is estimated, this happened on Tuesday, this election. It's estimated this will take 2 weeks.
2 weeks.
To figure out the most. So this is the thing is, this is among the bluest parts of the country. Anything that Democrats want for DC, they steamroll and pass at will. And so if you're one of these people who, I mean, the taxes in DC are insane. The cost of living in DC is insane. It's a union town through and through. It's as many Democrat voters as you could possibly hope for. But this is what you get, is a broken system where you don't know if your vote counted, because it's not going to be counted for 2 weeks. You're not going to know what the hell happened in the 2 weeks. Why does it take 2 weeks for an election to be decided? It's because whenever you have single Dem control of an area, it's a mess. Like, this is the only takeaway you can get, because this is an incredibly well-funded city.
Right.
The people who live in DC pay an arm and a leg to go towards this stuff, and they don't get any. Like, you are not getting what you pay for.
Yeah.
This is not like you come to DC and you're like, holy moly, the schools are great. Everything runs terrific. No, it's a nightmare.
Yeah. It's a nightmare. It's a nightmare. And Trump and the feds subsidize it to the hilt.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I mean, maybe they don't want to have to police all the crime in this city. Donald Trump will do it for them with the National Guard. And so they can get away with their, DSA pipe dreams of, amnesty and abolishing prisons, because like Donald Trump's enforcing the law in this town.
And that's the problem, is that it's a wonderful thing. And we are very fortunate. I've spoken about it a number of times that whenever I visit DC, you see the National Guard out and about. Like, crime has plummeted.
Mm-hmm.
The amount of assaults, murders, robberies, felonies in this town have plummeted because Donald Trump said, this is the nation's capital. It is not going to be a damn war zone. It was a damn war zone under Joe Biden. It was a horrific city to be in. It was an unsafe city to be in, and it's not anymore. And beyond that, you're seeing like President Trump and Secretary Burgum, how they are making DC beautiful again. There was a fountain that wasn't working for like 50 years in this town that's now working. And so when many of our listeners, maybe you came and visited so far for the Freedom 250 fight the other night. Maybe you're going to come here for America 250 during the 4th. It's going to be beautiful here because President Trump has said there's not going to be crime. This town is not going to be a mess. But also what that allows is at the municipal level, these stupid communists to do their nonsense because they're like, well, I mean, at least we don't have to take any responsibility for this place being a shithole.
Two things I'll add before we turn to Georgia or some of the other elections. One is I saw a poll ahead of this DC mayor's race that showed that Kenyon McDuffie had a lead among Black Americans in the DC area who were voting for mayor. Interesting, interesting data point.
And that's the funny thing is because we have here a list. I'd mentioned, can we get that graphic up there again for the DC? Yeah. So for our listeners again, Janess Lewis George at the top there supports many Democratic Socialists of America positions, including opposing the teen curfew in DC, which is such a problem. It's like the sun goes down and there's parts of town where on like a Friday or Saturday, hundreds and thousands of teens are going to show up and like overwhelm a park, and you'll see fights.
Yeah.
You'll see nonsense like
they
that.
call them takeovers. They have like a word for them now.
And so there would be a curfew that's put in place, and then you'd see the National Guard respond to these places, break it up, send them home. She opposes any teen curfew. She's like, no, we want them running amok. We support that kind of thing. She supports defunding the police. Again, like I said, because President Trump said there's going to be law and order in this town, they can pass stupidity like that. She supports taxing the rich, public housing and ownership. You got to just straight up seize the means from the people who own property in this town. Medicare for all. Love that too. Like this is, and currently has the lead. And that is your like white think tank left-wing voters' dream. Is they're like, oh, I love all these ideas. It's like we've heard a million times. You have college-educated left-wing white voters who are like, I believe we should defund the police. And then you hear communities that are affected by crime who are always opposed to that. It's incredible.
It's an NGO machine wish list, which is probably why she had the support of the unions in DC and a lot of the NGO groups who are pushing stuff like this. The other thing that I will say, and I don't know if you guys noticed this, but ahead of the election, President Trump said that if she wins, he will federalize the city.
Wonderful. So that's the upside. That's a good upside.
Yeah. I guess vote for her.
We'll see. We'll see what happens with that.
We got to get to the election night results out of Georgia. Let's go up to graphic 3 here. Mike Collins, the winner of that runoff in the U.S. Senate primary over Derek Dooley. He won pretty handily, 55.5% to 44.5%. Late endorsement by President Trump for Mike Collins. So that's a W for the president as well.
And then there's also a governor's race.
Yeah, that was very interesting to me, this governor's race.
And I mean, it's a lot of the discussion about Georgia's results from this past Tuesday are how much did endorsements play a role? Because in the governor race, you had a candidate that was endorsed by the current sitting governor, Governor Kemp. That same candidate was also endorsed by President Trump. That candidate was the sitting lieutenant governor of Georgia,
Burt Jones,
and they lost to
Rick Jackson, businessman.
So it's interesting that okay, well, did Mike Collins win because he got the President Trump endorsement? At the same time, the guy who got the President Trump endorsement in the governor's race didn't win. At the same time, Rick Jackson, extremely wealthy businessman, had $100 million that he poured into this race. $100 million it's a good thing to have. It's very helpful to have $100 million.
And the question is, how did he spend that $100 million? He spent that telling his personal story, which is inspirational, like by any account. He came up multiple foster homes, multiple schools, and he made himself into a billionaire through the American dream, pulling himself up by the bootstraps. And he is a businessman. He's not a politician. So it's a little bit of a misnomer, I think, to say that, oh, the Trump endorsed candidate lost, because the Trump adjacent candidate was the one who came out on top. And you were talking about some of the ads he was running, which seemed pretty smart.
That's the thing. It was very fascinating. So Newt Gingrich had endorsed Rick Jackson. And then I saw the ad with the Newt endorsement, great ad. But it opened with a photo of Newt shaking hands with President Trump. Then it went to Newt saying that I endorse Rick Jackson. And then he had another ad with, I think it was like a sheriff in Georgia. And the ad opens with the photo of the sheriff shaking hands with President Trump and then saying, and the sheriff being direct to camera, I endorse Rick Jackson. So it's very fascinating that he did that, because Rick didn't have the Trump endorsement, but you'd see if everyone around Trump thinks Trump is cool or this candidate is cool, then that's a good thing. And also just the way that Rick Jackson was presented to voters as being the kind of outsider, I'm not a politician.
Right.
That still sings.
He had a professional team around him that helped him put that story together, so that's the story that people heard was his actual background. And I just think it proves once again that image is what Republican primary voters are hungry for. An outsider who's going to change things up, who has real personal experience and hasn't just been a politician their whole life.
I think you're right.
Yeah, that's absolutely right. Okay, we got to get to your question of the day from the last episode. Great question, by the way. Great responses, too. What would you put in a Biden presidential library? To start answering those questions, we always start with a voice.
Okay, first one from Matthew Shemansky. Matthew writes, the Biden presidential library needs a thesaurus to help understand some of the words that Biden would say. And also the thing would be nice to see. The thing.
Oh, I love that. And it's 100% true. You ever see those videos on X where they're trying to subtitle things that Biden says, and it looks like one of those Scandinavian words where there's,
3 consonants in a row.
Too many consonants. That is true. That's a good comment. Smug, what do we got for comment 2?
Comment 2 is from Daniel Coffey. Daniel writes, great show, guys. Thank you. My only desire for a Biden library would be so I could, quote, drop a stack in that channel. Yes, God. I would have a commemorative t-shirt to mark the occasion. Keep doing great things, gents.
Drop a stack.
And for folks who missed this, I was telling my wife this story when we were discussing on the show. The Bidens are in such dire straits. This is according to a New York Magazine article. They don't know if they're going to be able to fundraise enough to have an independent Biden presidential library. It may just be a wing of a local public library.
Yeah.
That's unbelievable.
It's just great stuff. It's great stuff.
Do you remember this? This reminds me of when. So Art Modell was the owner of the Cleveland Browns who moved the team to Baltimore, and Art Modell, God rest his soul, passed away some years ago. And there was a guy from Cleveland who hated him so much. He drove to Baltimore and peed on the guy's grave.
My God.
And then he got arrested for it. It's the first thing I thought about when I was reading Daniel Coffey's thing. Daniel, I'd be careful and learn from the Cleveland guy.
That's just the dedication of fandom.
It is. Fans love their team.
Yeah.
What Art Modell did was terrible.
Next in Variety, where did all the beer in Boston go? We'll tell you right after this. Okay, you guys ready for some Variety?
Always.
So Heather Cox Richardson. Do you know this chick?
I know the name, but I don't know why.
Well, I don't really know where she originated from, but she's got this like left-wing brainworm podcast, and she's got like millions of subscribers on Substack.
Okay.
I don't know what her expertise is or why the left finds her so compelling, but she's become sort of like a media figure on the left out of nowhere. Anyway, she was on with Jim Acosta, and she had some crazy shit to say, so let's go to that.
What you are watching Trump do right now is deliberately tear that apart. And he is doing so on the same cultural argument, of course, that people used to back the first Gilded Age. That is these culture wars that turn white Americans against marginalized people of color.
Oh, right.
That's the bottom line there. So, I mean, it's not really a stretch to say that the same impulse that created the UFC fight on the White House lawn is the impulse that really pushed lynching in the late 19th century.
Are you kidding me? First of all, can we get the screen cap? Is she broadcasting live from the Biden library? Copies of Encyclopedia Brown over her shoulder.
You know what I love about that clip is the 20-second windup from an academic perspective of something, and it sounds very weighty. You're like, okay, I'm going to disagree with this, but clearly this is some sort of like academic analysis of something she pretends Donald Trump did that is actually white supremacy or whatever. And then she gets through the windup and she's like, and that's why the UFC fight is like lynching.
and you know, I love that we follow the SPLC discussion with that, is because that is the heart of this whole issue of the brainworms, of the insanity that the left has pushed, of how they've poisoned the well of any discussion in this country, because there is no white supremacy problem. They just see it as, like you said, she's making Substack money off of telling people these insane takes like, well, you see, a UFC fight is just like lynching. You know what I mean? Like, there is no, America is not a problem the way that the left has been trying to poison our minds into thinking it is, that America is this horrific country of white supremacy. And, oh my God, these marginalized communities are being terrorized by white supremacy. And UFC is also just like lynching. You know what I mean? Like, this take that they've been pushing for a decade, trying to divide this country, Americans don't believe it. It's just these brain rot lefties who are stuck thinking that America is a terrible place and are willing to pay her Substack to get takes like that. It's awful for the country. It's pathetic. And just on, like, you see a 10-second clip of it, and you're like, wait a minute, is this lady saying that the UFC is the same as lynching? Yes, she is. That's how brain dead they are.
Well, it makes me sad for one reason. And like, I'm not sad about the destruction of mainstream media, established media that failed. They deserve to have failed. They failed their audience, and that's why people seek out alternative media sources. But as an alternative media source, I feel sad to be associated with Heather Cox Richardson.
Yeah. That's the thing is, and seeing Acosta, because he got fired from CNN because he had horrible ratings.
And now he has to entertain her crazy.
They're crazy.
Oh, I love it. All right, so we got to get to this from the Boston Globe. This is an incredible story because it involves impressing Bostonians with heavy drinking, which I thought was an impossible thing to do.
Right. Yeah.
The headline here from the Boston Globe: "We've never seen anything like it. Patrons emptied bars and liquor stores in Boston this weekend.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the World Cup games are up there. They got a lot of international fans up there. Apparently, they're just like drinking the city out of alcohol.
Which didn't seem possible. It just did not seem
That's the thing. So it says in this Boston Globe article that pubs and liquor stores sold out of their stock during the World Cup's opening weekend. How do you outdrink St. Patrick's Day in Boston? Because that's what happened, is inviting Scots to town is a good start.
Nice.
So this is to me shocking, because for so long, I mean, Boston is largely known as an Irish town. The Irish are famous for being drunks. That's kind of like their thing of, all they do is they drink themselves. But Boston is not just an Irish town. It's also full of a lot of Italians, and the Irish and the Italians, they hate each other. They both are known for drinking a ton. The history of Boston is full of violence of the Irish beating up the Italians being up the Irish, all because they're just drunk.
Whose mob is better?
That's the thing.
Yeah.
Is they're just drunken mobs who would beat each other up all day long. And the thing is that through their rich history of this Irish and Italian drunken violence, they always boast that you go to Boston, that's the drinking town. Turns out it's the Scottish who are out there drinking them under the table. The whole time is like the real final boss of drunkenness has arrived, and it's the Scottish.
Yeah. Well, they're kind of cousins, really. It's all the same.
You're a Scottish guy, right? That's your thing?
I'm a combo, just a mutt,
It's Irish and Scottish?
Irish, Scottish, Welsh, English, German, French, all of it.
We're Duncans, so Scottish. Yeah.
It turns out the whole time the Irish and the Italians in Boston who thought they were like the final boss of drinking were not. Turns out it's the Scottish. That's my takeaway from this.
I mean, just phenomenal cultural exchange happening during the World Cup. Did you also see this Freddie guy? He's been touring around.
Oh, yeah, he's so good.
And everything.
He's so good.
He just loves America.
So that's the other thing. Is I guess Freddie's a German guy.
Yeah.
He's come here for the World Cup. So many clips are going viral of hey, this European is visiting from this country and they are marveling at how America is a wonderful place. Europe is a terrible place, by all accounts. They have more people die from a lack of air conditioning.
Yeah.
Than total deaths in the US. It's really wiping out Europeans.
Well, the thing I love about it the most is he is marveling at middle America. And everything that he loves the most is something that the coastal elites hate the most.
The left has told us to hate.
Exactly. And he's like, wait a minute. I'm in this subdivision in southern Alabama. This is awesome. This is gorgeous. I'm at this Carrabba's. I went to this pizza place. I'm eating Chipotle in the hotel. And every single thing he's doing, the coastal elites look down on us because we're like, hey, pretty great. You get to drive around your town and go to a restaurant you like. Yeah. You enjoy your life. And the coastal elites hate it.
Okay, I'm really glad that you mentioned pizza, Ashbrook, because it has been my contention on this show for a long time. And I got a little guff from the Euros about this, that America makes way better pizza than Italy does.
I think this is true.
That's the truth.
It's just a fact.
Right.
And they would never admit it. And
it's cheaper too. Little Caesars, for crying out loud, it's delicious.
It's delicious.
And the Italians are like, no, you can't have that. You put an Italian person at a Little Caesars, I guarantee they'll like it more.
Absolutely. So I was tagged in this tweet from this guy, Steven, who puts up a picture of a wonderful American pizza. Look at that. Great looking pizza. Steven writes, I'm in America for the World Cup. And let me say, as a British person who has been to Italy, this is the best pizza I've ever eaten.
Yeah.
Because it's delicious. Maybe it's not the same Neapolitan with the burnt crust that comes out in a small size. It's maybe it's a little different food, but it tastes pretty good.
It's pretty fantastic.
Did you see the video with these British guys, by the way, trying pork ribs for the first time?
Yeah.
It's one of the funniest things I've ever seen. They've never had barbecue sauce. They've never had ribs. And it's they're at this hole in the wall spot.
And they try to use a knife and fork.
And the guy's like, just pick it up and take a bite. And their minds are blown.
Yeah.
You know what? America has something to offer.
And that's the thing is I think the big takeaway so far from the World Cup in America is everyone who visits America loves it and is amazed by all the wonderful things that at the same time, for the past couple of decades, the left has been saying you should hate and that America is a terrible country. We have a great clip that I think really crystallizes this point.
Yeah, the Scots do not just outdrink the Irish. They also sing better. Let's go to clip number 5.
Just how can you not?
I mean, it
love
doesn't
that?
get any better than that. You watch a clip like that, and it's like total cultural victory.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Mm-hmm.
oh, it makes you feel good.
Especially when you put that up against these politicians from New York when they're asked, like, who are you rooting for? And one of them's like Mexico, and the other one's like, I don't even remember. It's some other country.
Pathetic.
Go live in Gaza.
Yeah.
You know, we'll take some of these Euros. They can stay.
Yeah.
But only if the lefties go live in Gaza. All right. So remember our question of the day.
Who on The View is the worst host? That's like, the ultimate lineup of deranged people. You got to pick.
And this is a layup, and you better make them funny because tomorrow we have Fun Time Friday, and we're going to be reading those comments. So make them funny. Make them good. That's important. It's important to me. Fellas, I think we did it.
I think so. Absolute banger of an episode. Gentlemen, remember, if you have not yet, go to the YouTube and hit that subscribe because it's more fun in video. So until next time, minions, keep the faith, hold the line, and own the libs. We'll see you on Friday. Stay ruthless.